Amin. Neka hvala i zahvala gospodaru svih svjetova, salavat i salam poslanika Muhammeda sallallahu alejhi ve sellem, njegovu porodicu, uzeti česne ashabe i na sve one koji ga slijede sudnjega dana. Molimo gospodara svijeta da bude na putu istine. Amin. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings, peace be upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa sallam, his house with his companions and all those who follow him until the day of judgment. Amin. Ya Rabbil Alamin. So as we begin, yesterday we'll go back and forth, so just be patient. Dakle, jučer smo stali da su mnogi poslanici, vjerovjesnici, dakle, obnavljali hramove, tako da je i Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam, dakle, obnovio Masdzidul Aksa, hram, džamiju, prvu kiblu, i normalno on je bio njen i graditelj, obnovitelj, jer Aksa je, dakle, postojala prije Sulejmana alejhi salatu vesselam, dakle, u našem drugom dijelu, dakle, Masdzidul Aksa je dešavanja prije samoga osvajanja. Zatim kažemo, dakle, da dolazi do nesporazuma, jer neki misle da je Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam, dakle, izgradio iz temelja Al-Aqsu džamiju, pa sad Židovi hoće, dakle, da grade njegov hram. Postoji u židovskim literaturama, u njegovim knjigama, spominje se, dakle, da je taj hram radi obožavanja kipova i šejtana. To se u njihovim knjigama spominje. A to nam govori da Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam, dakle, nije sagradio takav hram kako oni tvrde, već je, dakle, to njihova izmišljotinja. Inače, Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam i Davud alejhi salatu vesselam nemaju veze sa prepisivanjem Allahu dželešanuhu druga, sihra, jer Allah dželešanuhu je podčinio džine Sulejmanu alejhi salatu vesselam. To je, dakle, njemu dato, nijednom drugom poslaniku. Spominjali smo jučer da smo date neke posebne, dakle, blagodati od strane Allaha dželešanuhu, gdje nijednome poslaniku nakon toga nisu date. Jedna od njih je isto, dakle, poslušnost džina. Jer to je najveća laž danas, da ljudi govore da znaju budućnost, šta će se desiti. Dakle, oni gatar. Jer da su, kažu, Sulejman alejhi selam kada je preselio, on se naslonio na štap. A džini su još uvijek radili svoj posao koji im je on naredio. Nakon nekoliko, dakle, duže period, tako je bio nastavak, sve dok Allah dželešanu je poslao, dakle, da betun ta'kulu min sa'ate. Dakle, poslao neku životinju, ili u današnjem prevodu mrava, termita, koji je pojeo drvo, štap, i tako je Sulejman alejhi selam pao sa tim štapom, i tek su on tada skontali da je on nije živ, da je on preselio. Dakle, da su džini znali, da znaju, dakle, budućnost, onda bi znali da je Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam preselio odavno. Dakle, nije to njihova osobina poslanika da pozivaju širk, pripisavanje Allahu dželešanuhu druga ili obožavanje šejtana, već da se čini Allahu dželešanuhu seđda. Kada je Muhammed alejhi salatu vesselam, dakle, obnovio ili obavio noćno putovanje Isra Mi'raj, ima sura Isra u Kur'anu Kerimu se spominje, to nam govori, dakle, da je Masdzidul Aksa i Masdzidul Haram jedno, jer su to, dakle, kako se spominje, 3 sveta mjesta, Ulal Qiblatain, prva kibla muslimana. Dakle, to je kibla muslimana i, dakle, odbrana kible muslimana bi trebala biti dužnost svi u nas. Međutim, pošto smo mi kakvi smo, ovakvi smo, zato imaju ljudi koji svoje živote daju da bi odbranili našu prvu kiblu. Zato oni, dakle, čine fardul kifaje. Dakle, oni jedno, dakle, ako jedna grupa muslimana radi jednu obavezu, onda spada obaveza sa drugi. Dakle, to su ti ljudi koji su odabrani u današnjem vremenu. Zatim se sjećamo i hadisa kada je poslanik alejhi salatu opisivao mušricima Masdzidul Aksa i Masdzidul Haram, dakle, to je jedno. Rekli smo da je isti graditelj i da imaju velike sličnosti i da je urađeno, dakle, istraživanje od strane muslimana koji su dokazali da dvije džamije liče jedna na drugoj po samoj gradnji, samome izgledu i tako dalje. Dakle, to smo ukratko spomenuli. Dakle, iako Židovi misle da je Masdzidul Aksa sagrađena na mjestu njihovoga hrama, to znači da je Masdzidul Aksa u stvari taj hram. Dakle, oni govore da ima nekakav hram da postoji koji treba slušati Masdzidul Aksa, da bi oni izgradili taj svoj hram. Jer taj njihov naziv Sulejman alejhi salatu vesselam u stvari nije dakle onaj improvizovao ime. Ne postoji. Dakle, ako se radi o hramu, onda je to u stvari Masdzidul Aksa, samo što oni koriste drugu terminu. Inače, oni uvijek imaju dakle neke svoje posebne izraze. To smo spominjali kad smo govorili o džezamin džinsil amel, nagrada za ono što uradiš, tako dobiješ. Pa sam spomenuli prva 3 ajeta, vidjeli smo kako oni govore, dakle, prevrću riječ. Evo i danas dan. Dakle, isto je njihova dakle, osobina koja im je data, dakle, oni konstantno samo prevrću riječ. Misliš tako da zbune mase, da manipuliraju i da rade zlo ono koje rade, dakle, opravdavajući sebe ono što rade. Molimo gospodara, sačuvaj zla i belaje. Amin. So yesterday we spoke and we stopped on the when the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam was on the Mi'raj, Isra and Mi'raj, and the companions heard about those news. So he said that Jibril alayhi salatu wasallam brought him the Masdzidul Aksa, and he was flipping it right and left in order for Prophet to see so many details, so he can describe for those who have been in Masdzidul Aksa and they know how it looks like. So if he describes it correctly, so they know he speaks truth. Of course, these are different. So there is different levels of the people. Some people, they believe it, but when he says something, they believe it. Like Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Even greater companions, they have some kind of doubt. They're not sure that he was in the part of the night going to Masjid Aqsa. They need a couple, month or so to go there and come back 1 month, 2 months, and then he's going up there and then coming back. I mean, it's just, it doesn't work. So, but for some companions, it worked. When the Prophet said, that's it, they believe. That is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. That is when the Prophet gave him the laqab Abu as-Siddiq, because Abu Bakr ibn Quhafa, that's his real name, but he's known as as-Siddiq because the Prophet gave him that title when this happened. Because all the companions, they are not sure what he's talking about. Is it possible or not to go with the body and the ruh there and come back? But in our time right now, we can understand it's easy. Yeah, it's happening. Because sometimes, there's a religious theory that may not be understood in that time, but today we can see it very, easy to understand. So when it said, Abu Bakr said, yeah, I believe it, that you have been. If you speak, that's it. But some companions, they didn't. So he was describing them, the Masjid Aqsa. So when they know that he is speaking true, so they confirmed that he was there on that night. So, but in some of the Jewish books is mentioned, some of the literature that is saying that the temple, that temple they are searching for it, actually, that is temple in order to worship the idols and shayateen. That is mentioned in their books, which is automatically telling us that Sulaiman alayhi salatu was the son of Dawood, did not do that. They used the prophets and messengers of Allah, so they never called people to worship idols, instead to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is the truth. So when the Prophet ﷺ was going to Isra Mi'raj, so that is what happens, because there is many similarities between the first mosque and the second, actually, between Masjidul Haram and Masjidul Aqsa. There are so many similarities, and the Muslims did research, as you mentioned yesterday. So they did, complete research, and they said, because the first who built the first one and built the second one, there are so many similarities in between these two mosques. And of course, it is Ula Qiblatain, our first Qibla, and the third holy place, Masjidul Haram, Masjidul Nabawi, and then Masjidul Al-Aqsa. Of course, so the Jewish people, they think that Masjidul Aqsa is built on the foundation of their temple, or Sulaiman's temple, or on the place that is right now Masjidul Aqsa. So for that reason, it must be destroyed. But if that is what they said, then the Masjidul Aqsa itself is actually the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. But they call it different names. It is not something new for the Sulaiman alayhi salatu, but they are initiate. Usually that is their characteristic. if you remember when we speak about the jaza min jins al-amal, when the ayat talks about, you know, the reward, as you do, the reward will come to you. Towards same thing as you know, in these days, we'll see the story, what's going on. So you can do whatever you want to do, but you have to be ready that same thing will come to you, even maybe worse. So that is jaza, the reward for your actions that you're doing. So we saw that in the last ayah that we stopped right there, they're using different words. You know, they're ra'ina wa qul unzurna. So they're changing. Even in these days, they're trying to manipulate and justify their genocide, and they're killing the humans and in the Palestine and occupying that land and justifying themselves that they have right to do so. And of course, in their books, in Talmud, that is the holiest book to them than the Torah itself, they are saying to the other people they are not like animals, not like human beings. That's how they treat, and that's what we can see through their actions. So that's their characteristic. It's mentioned in the Quran as well. So that is what's happening about the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, let's mention a couple things or three things that will happen before coming of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, before he returns to Beit al-Maqdis. Number one, it must be the state of Israel. So what is happening right now is prescribed. You can, you know, our da'af, our weakness, all what we are trying to do, you know, it was happening. You know, I was happy when I heard there is the Muslim army is, you know, standing up, but all of a sudden the news that they didn't stand against the Israel, they stand against their own people in the Jordan because of king. He wants to protect himself. Not, I was thinking he will protect Palestinians. No, he's protecting his country. He's you know, against his people, and that's happening in the Middle East. We saw it through the many. So the state of Israel must be there before Isa is coming. That's promised. Number two, the city called Urshulim. It's well-known name, which means Jerusalem or Quds. It must be in the hands of the Jewish people completely. Now, the West Bank is, you know, there is some parts where is, you know, they control, and there is some parts of Palestinians, but majority of they're controlling, you know, everything. So it's almost, even it's forbidden to go inside the Masdzidul Aksa. That is one of the signs as well. So they will have this under their hands because they think that is the city where from which Isa alayhi salatu wasalam will judge. So that is the major signs of the Day of Judgment. And the number three, building the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam on the foundation of Masdzidul Aksa. What is it telling us? Eventually, they will destroy the Masdzidul Aksa in order to build their, you know, the temple. And that is well known as well. So we'll talk about the signs, minor and major, inshallah. Each Friday, we'll cover a couple of them until we reach this specific subject about the Quds and conquest of the Quds, inshallah ta'ala. So, dakle, nekoliko stvari treba da se desi prije dakle, nego što se što dođe Isa alejhi salatu vesselam, sin Merjemin. Dakle, nekoliko stvari treba da se desi da bi se ostvarilo obećanje. Prva stvar je, mora se dakle uspostaviti zemlja Izrael. Dakle, mora da postoji, a to je se ostvarilo. Dakle, to već postoji, evo koliko, 75 plus godina. Druga stvar, da grad Uršulin, kako se spominje u njihovim knjigama, ili Jerusalem, ili Kuds, bude pod židovskom rukom. U velikoj, dakle, mjeri je pod njihovom rukom, jer to je grad, kako kažu, iz kojeg će Isa, alejhi salatu vesselam, da vodi svijet. I ovo se otprilike tu je negdje da se upotpunilo. I treća stvar, da će se desiti izgradnja hrama na temeljima džamije El Aqsa, što nam ujedno govori da će u stvari Masdzidul Aksa, prva kibla, biti srušena. I nije čudno što spominjali jučer da ima puno tunela ispod nje. Dakle, neki kažu da pred sami kijametski bit će i mnogo zemljotresa, moguće da će i ti zemljotresi ili na neki drugi način, uglavnom bit će srušena, izgrađen će biti taj Sulejmanov hram na temeljima Masdzidul Aksa. Druga stvar, normalno, još neke će se dešavati, dakle, prije osvajanja Masdzidul Aksa, dakle ponovo će se morati osvajati, kao što će morati osvajati onaj Istanbul, kako se naveli u hadisima. Dakle, to su dešavanja, to je jedan od velikih predznaka sudnjeg dana. Pa ćemo ako Bog da spominjati te predznake su koji se već ostvarili, koji se ponavljaju i novi koji nadolaze kako svijet napreduje. Jedan od njih veli, kaže, mi vjerujemo da je zadnja etapa događaja nakon uspostavljanja Izraela i povratka Židova u Kuc je da se povrati, kaže, hram, to jest da se izgradi Sulejmanov hram. I da će nas, kaže, dovesti do ponovnog dolaska Mesije. Dakle, kad se izgradi taj hram, to je već najava da je dolazak Isa alejhiselam spreman. Židovi uz pomoć kršćana moraju srušiti Masdzidul Aksa i da sagrade hram, zato što Inđil tako kaže. Dakle, to će se dešavati. Imaju mnogi hadisi koji spominju izgradnja Jerusalema, rušenje Medine. A to ćemo spominjati ako bude kasnije, da ne idemo sad u detalje. Inače, izraelska vlada, kaže, izdala dozvolu za kopanje i traženje tog hrama, odnosno dijelova tog hrama ispod džame Aqsa. Tako su, kaže, iskopali tunele sa zapadne strane i sa južne, čak i ispod samoga mesdžida. Iskopali su duge i široke tunele istočno i zapadno. I uspostavili su, kaže, sinagogu, dakle, ispod zemlje za Židove koji su, kaže, oficijalno otvorili 1986. godine. U nekim predajama se spominje da će, dakle, 70.000 Židova biti pristalica Mesih Deđala. Dakle, ne pravoga Mesije, nego u stvari Mesih Deđala. A okupirali su dio Kuca, istočni dio, dakle, još davne 1969. godine i od toga dana pa do danas oni pokušavaju da nađu ostatke tog nekakvoga hrama Sulejmana alejselatu veselama. Da odvrate, dakle, da utvrde da je Aqsa u stvari izgrađen na temeljima tog njihovog hrama i ako bi strušili, dakle, kako bi strušili ujedno i Masdzidul Aksa. So, one of them is saying, one of the Jewish source is saying, we believe that the last phase of happenings and establishing the Israel is that all Jewish people come to the Quds. And even right now, they are calling them from the different cities to come there. Because they know that is their end. It must happen like that. Because their end will be in the Palestine. So they are calling each other, you know, because that is their end. And that is well known to the hadith, nothing new. Maybe they know about it. They know about that. When they burned the Masjidul Aksa, I think 60 something, I forget the date. And their minister was woman. What's her name? She's, huh? Yes, Golden Manager. So she said, I was expecting in the morning that all Arabs, Muslims will attack us. But I wake up and see nothing. So I said, the Ummah is sleeping. We can do whatever we want to do. So they know their end is in the Quds. They have to come back. It doesn't matter. They are going all around. Yatihuna fil ard. They are going here and there as they expel from the Egypt. For a long story. But their end is there. So they are calling each other to come there because that will be their end. That is the major sign of the Day of Judgment. So they have to come to the Quds and they have to fix the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam, because once we destroy the Quds and build our temple, that is the time for coming of Isa alayhi salatu wasalam. And now the Israeli government as well, they gave the permission for digging the tunnels under the Masdzidul Aksa from the east and the west. Yeah. So under the prayer room, they may dig all these wide and long the tunnels. So they open even official temple underground 1986 officially. And there is one of the hadiths that there is when Dajjal, because they're waiting for Messiah, false Messiah, Dajjal, because 70,000 of them will be his followers. Masih Dajjal, the Antichrist. So they occupied the Quds, the eastern part, since 1969. And from that day till today, they are trying to search and find some pieces of the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam. Actually, they're trying to destroy the Masdzidul Aksa in order to build their temple. That is the plan. Još ćemo jednu stvar da spomenem pa da ne bi duljio. Dakle, osvajanje Bejtul Maktisa, u njegovo osvajanje, prenosi se od Aufa bin Malika radijallahu anhu da kaže, došao sam poslaniku sallallahu alejhi ve selleme prilikom pohoda na Tebuk. Bio, kaže, u velikom šatoru od kože i tada mi reče, A'id 6. So he said, nabroj 6 stvari pred sudnji dan. Kaže, moja smrt. Njegova smrt je znak, preznak sudnjega dana. Oslobađanje Jerusalema, to je druga stvar. Pomor koji će vas zahvatiti poput ovčije kuge, crna kuga poznata. Izobilje imetka, tako kada čovjek dobije 100 dinara zlatnika i dalje će, kaže, biti ljut i srdit. 5. stvar, zatim će se pojaviti, kaže, toliko smutnja da nijedna arapska kuća neće ostati na nju imuna. Dakle, toliko će fitne se pojaviti, nered. I 6. stvar, a potom, kaže, primirje između vas i Bizantijaca. Ali će oni, kaže, iznevjeriti to primirje i poći će na vas sa 80 zastava, pazite, 80 zastava, pod svakom zastavom 12.000. To je ured milion ljudi, 960.000. Dakle, milion ljudi će krenuti na vas. Dakle, to treba isto zapamtiti. Inače, dakle, Jerusalem je oslobađan, dakle, 15. godine po hidžri, a zatim se i desila 18. godine te crna kuga, ta bolest od koje je većina dosta ashaba preselilo na Hiret. I isto tako se spominje kroz historiju, dakle, učeno spomenuo da je, dakle, bilo dovoljno imetka u vrijeme halife Osmana, radijallahu anhu 23. godine, a isto je se desilo za vrijeme 5. halife Omara ibn Abdul Aziza. On je tada davao, dakle, iz Bejtul Mala svakome kome je bilo potrebno, omladin da se ženi, ko treba na hadž, ko treba u boj, dakle, svima, dakle, toliko je bilo izobilja. Međutim, ovaj preznak sudnjeg dana može da se ponovo ponovi i on se obnavlja, dakle, nije njegov kraj. I normalno, fitna, dakle, je nastupila kada je ubijen Osman radijallahu anhu. Nakon toga se pojavile razne sekte i do danas dan je ta, dakle, borba između tih sektaša. Tako, dakle, a što se tiče ovih Bizantijaca, dakle, ovi tradicionalni učenjaci kažu, dakle, da je to, dakle, jedan od poslanikovi sallallahu alejhi ve selleme, dakle, informacija koji napominju šta će se desiti, dakle, pred kijametski dan. So lastly, I would like to share with you the other thing, which is the conquest of Beitul Maqdis, inshallah ta'ala. There is a hadith from the Auf bin Malik radiallahu anhuma. So during the battle of Tabuk, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam said to Auf ibn Malik, he was in the big tent sitting there, and he said, count 6 before the hour, before the day of judgment, 6 things. My death, because the death of Prophet ﷺ is sign of the day of judgment, that is minor one. As he said, I and the Sa'ah, I and hour came like this. So it just this much I came before the hour, before the day of judgment, to inform you what will happen. If you remember when we mentioned the hadith, those who went with us in the morning, and before we mentioned the hadith in the very beginning of Iman, when the Prophet Jibril came to the Prophet and was asking what is Islam, and he mentioned five pillars of Islam. What is Iman? He mentioned 6 articles of faith. And he said, what is Ihsan? And he said, كأنك أن تعبد الله كأنك تراه فإن لم تكن تراه فإنه يراك. To worship Allah as you see him, even though you don't see him, he sees you. So that is the best level of Iman, the faith. And then he was asking us about when the day of judgment is. And he told him the one who asked does not know more than one who is asking, right? مَا الْمَسْئُولُ بِأَعْلَمَ مِنَ السَّائِلِ. But I will tell you about the signs of the day of judgment. So it's in the very beginning, even you can find it in the Riyadh al-Salihin, that he's mentioning what will happen. And then he was mentioning when the 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 the, the Aman, the daughters will be basically queens, and they will treat their moms as servants. And that happened actually when we have those caliphs in exchange between Emirates, Awalis, and Osmanis, and then lastly Turks. So these things has happened because they used to marry the woman, so she is free and she become the master of her mom. So it happened this, and it is not necessary that will not repeat again. The other thing is when he was asking that people, the poor people, Bedouins will compete in the huge buildings. That's what we'll mention inshallah by details. But that's what's happening. One of the things that the Prophet ﷺ, when your thigh will speak. So in that era when the Prophet ﷺ was telling this, for the companions was very hard to understand how the thighs speak. But in our time, can you understand right now? When you leave your house, he said your thigh will tell you what's happening. How do you know? This one. In your packet, right? It's telling you what was happening. So we can understand better than in that time. Our thigh is talking. You can watch through the camera what's happening in the house, around the house, backyard, front yard, here, there, whatever. Everything is in your packet. So these things are really amazing how the Prophet ﷺ was informed what will happen. So his death, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then the conquest of Jerusalem, two mortal plagues that will take you in a great number as a plague of the sheep. And it happened. It happened previously, and not necessarily it will not happen again. Then wealth, al-mal, will increase. Wealth will be in a such surplus that a man will be given 100 gold coins and still he will be unsatisfied. The scholar says that Jerusalem was conquered, 5 years after his death, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the year of 15 after Hijrah, followed by the plague, Amwas, in the year 18th, which took so many lives of the companions, radiallahu anhum ajma'in. And of course, the wealth, as they mentioned, increased in the time of Osman radiallahu anhu, but still increased in the fifth caliph, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. In his time, there was a lot of wealth. He was sending people, the youngest, to get married, to the Hajj, to the whatever their needs. So there was a lot of mal. And then, of course, he is mentioning, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in this hadith, there will be a tribulations that will not leave an Arab home without entering it. So it will be a lot of in number. As you can see in these days, it's happening. It's very hard to save you and yourself and your kids from them. Then there will be a truce between you and the Muslims and the Banu Asfar. Banu Asfar are Byzantines, that they will betray. So there is agreement between them and Muslims, but they will betray. Look at this. And they will march against you under 80 flags. 80 flags. Under each flag will be 12,000 soldiers. That is around million. Less a little bit, 960,000. Million people will march towards you to kill you, to destroy you. So these things are happening. This Prophet ﷺ prophesies to us, in all these hadiths that we'll go through. And inshallah, there is some other thing but I will keep it for next time, inshallah, because I don't want to take your time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward all of us, except from us. Amin ya Rabbil Alamin. Assalamu alaikum. Any questions?